Hi everyone, this is Satyajit. So in our last videos, we discussed how to create an AWS account and what are the steps involved creating AWS account and discuss something, a few of these AWS overview of UI. Okay. In these videos, we'll discuss about the basic networking in the sense like what is IP address, how IP address can be used, because in AWS, when you go for the networking like VPC, creations of VPC, so everywhere you required this terminology, IP addressing. So before starting directly jumping into the AWS services, we need to understand how IP works and what is IP addressing and how many type of IP address. This is just meant for the AWS purpose of networking or IP addressing, because to study only IP addressing or only networking, it will take longer time. Okay, it will take minimum 1 month of time. So on these videos, we will only restrict to how IP address and how basic calculations works, how you will do subnet calculations, and which will be helpful to understand the AWS terminology in detail. So I'm just preparing on that sense. It will, this IP addressing or this networking, it's not meant for total networking level. Okay, this is just for the AWS level of approach. Okay, so let's get started. So IP addressing means, so each devices, any devices, let's talk about your phone. Okay, talk about your iPad, your laptop, everyone has some IP address. So IP address is a unique address. Okay, it got assigned by the service provider or by the like whenever, like let's say my system, there is a MAC address is there. So MAC address also that is assigned to your IP, like your laptop or your phone. Okay, like this way there will be IP address. So now we'll understand what is IP address. IP stands for Internet Protocol, right? So the IP address is an address having informations how to reach to a specific host. It means now I am from my laptop, like from my laptop, I want to reach to Google. So Google is also like hosted somewhere. So there is having some IP address. So my system can able to connect to the Google server IP address. So I can able to reach to the Google. So like in each devices or anything have some IP address. I'm connected to my laptop, right? If I will type my what is my IP, if you type in the browser, so this will give an IP address. So this system, so this IP address is nothing but that is, so I connected to Wi-Fi internet, right? So it is the IP address of that. So now we need to understand what is this IP, okay, and how the IP calculations works, how many classes of IP we will understand now. So the denotes, right? If you see this IP also, if you see there is a dot, few dots are there, like 1 2 3, few dots are there, and each are something divided 4 1, this block 2 3 and 4. Okay, so there are two types of IP address. One is IP version 4 and another one is IP version 6. IP version 4 is 32-bit. Okay, so 32-bit, like so 32-bit, it's a 32-bit, and IP version 6 is a 64-bit. So 32-bit means 4 byte we can say, because 1 byte equal to 8 bit. Okay, so now this is 1 byte, this is another byte. So 1 2 3 4, 4 byte, and 1 byte equal to 8 bit. So 4 into 8, total 32-bit. This is a 32-bit of representations. Okay, so IPv4. So now we are going to discuss in detail about IP version 4, because everywhere in the market we are using IP version 4. Let us slowly, like IP version 6 came into picture. So in the future, people may use IP version 6, but as such, as of now, we are using IP version 4. Now, here it is written, IP address is a 32-bit unique address having an address space. So generate two types of notations. One is dotted decimal notations, another one is a hexadecimal notations. Dotted decimal notation means like this representations, 128.11.3.31. So each number having some unique name, like this is a decimal representations of binary representations. So how we will prepare the binary representations? Let's say it can be calculated. Let's say I will go down. as a, it's, there is called some 8421 code, 8421 code. Okay, I'll just represent like this, 8, 4, 2 and 1 code. And there is something called 8. So there are total 8 bit, right? So 1 byte equal to 8 bit. So like let's say something I will represent 123.32.16.1. So this is this is 32 bit, like 4 byte. Now I have to make it as a representations, binary representation. So how I will do that? So each bit is equal to 8 bit, like each byte, like as I said, this byte equal to 8 bit. So how I will representations? So to represent this 123, we need to make as a 8421 code. So 8421 code, and after 8 it will be 16, after 16 it will be 32, after 32 it will be 64, and latest by 128. So 128, 64, 32, 16, 8, 4, 2, 1 code. So if you add all, this will be 8 bit. Okay, so each should be 8 bit. If you plus addition all, if you add all, it will come as 255. It means each byte, it will be 255. So 255.255.255.255. It means it will not go beyond to 255. Okay, so now let's see now 123. So if you do 123, you need to representation. If you then we need to calculate what is how this numbers, where the number is there. Like say 128 is bigger than 120, so this will not become, so this will 0, this bit will make it as 0. Then 64, if you are keeping 64, then we'll make it as 1. Then 32 also are keeping, you can make 32 as 1. So we need to calculate to add how many numbers adding 123 is coming. Okay, so based on that, we need to make it as which one is 1 and which one is make to 0. If you calculate 1 minute. So if you calculate now 64 plus 32, it's 96, plus 16, it is 112, plus 8 is equal to 120, then plus 2, 122 plus 1 equal to 123. It means 64, once again, like 128, it will not come because 128 is bigger than 123. So we have to make it as 0. Then 64, then with this bit, we have to make it as 1, plus 32. Okay, so 32. So we have to make, so adding 96. Okay, plus 16. So it's 112. So we have to make it as 1, plus 8. Because 120. So we have to make it as 1, plus 4. So 4 we cannot make it because 120 plus 4 equal to 124. We have to make it as 0, then 1, 1. Okay, so this is the binary representations of 123. Okay, because now if you add, represent in that way. So 128, this bit, right? 128 bit is 0. Then 64 bit is 1, 32 bit is 1, 16 bit is 1, 8 bit is 1, next 4 bit is 0, then 2 bit is 1, this bit is 1. If you include all, it will come as 123. So this is the representations of a number. Okay, so this will not record, but to understand, to make you understand, I just added the representation, how you'll represent it. So now let us come to our topic. So this is the dotted decimal notifications, like 128.11.3.31. So how this number we can make it as a binary number. So now first digit is 128. So this is make it as 1, other will be remain 0. So you can calculate by yourself. Second one is the hexadecimal. So we have to make as a hexadecimal. So hexadecimal is nothing but IP version 6. Okay, so that way we can represent it. So this is the basic of IP addressing. Like IP addressing means it is a either IP version 4, IP version 6. IP version 4 is 32-bit, IP version 6 is 64-bit. Okay, so now how many address? So something like it is 128, something, someone can write 10.0, someone can write 192, someone can write 223. So what is that number? So based on that, the IP version or IP classified into some classes. Okay, so now there are 5 classes of IP addresses. So class A, class B, class C, class D, and class E. Okay, and the value is between 0 and 255, as I said, right? If you make all digit as 1, like in the on my below example, if I make all bit as 1, if I make all everything 1, it means all value if you add, the maximum value it will come 255. So each byte either 0 or either maximum can go up to 255. It cannot go beyond that. Okay, so now class A. So class A means now class A, class B, class C, and class D, class C. So class D and class E are reserved for multicast and experimental purpose. So this is not being used, or we are not using this IP address in any of the customer or any of the infrastructure environment. This D and E class is already reserved for multicasting. So we are not using that. So it means we are remaining with class A, class B, and class C. Now we need to understand what are the IP ranges of class A. So class A, the IP ranges is from 1.x.x.x to 126.x.x.x. X means that will go from 0 to 255. It means now the IP ranges, let's say 0. If you say 0 to 126, it means first IP is 0.0.0.0. Okay, first IP. So next IP is 0.0.0.1. Like that way, it will go maximum up to 255. It means the last IP will be 0.0.0.255. 255. Then the next IP will be nearby bit or nearby byte. It will make it as 1. It means 0.0.1.0. Next, like that, the serial will go. The last IP will be 0.0.1.255, the latest IP or last IP. And the next one will be 0.0.2.0. Like this way, the IP calculations will go. And it will go up to maximum. The last IP will be 126.255.255.255. Then like next IP will be, because all these IP, like the 3, 255.255.255, it completed, right? Next one will be, the first one will be increase. It means last one will be 127.0.0.0. Okay, so that is the next IP. So 0 to 126, it means 0.0.0.0 to 126.255.255.255. It is reserved for class A. Okay, so class A is reserved for that. And here something, if you see here, class A is 1 bit is network ID. It means the first bit or first byte is going to change, remain same. Other byte will be changed from 0 to 255. It will go up to 255 each byte, but the first byte will not go to till 255. Okay, so one byte is network and other is the host ID. So from that, if we calculate what is the subnet mask of that, it will be 255.0.0.0. Okay, so that will be the subnet mask of that. Okay, next one will be the subnet mask will be 255.0.0.0, because all this value will be going from 255 to the maximum up to 255. Then class B will be 2 byte is network ID and another 2 byte is the host ID. Okay, it means the subnet mask will be 255.255.0.0. Okay, and then the class C is first 3 byte is the network ID and last one is the host ID. It means the subnet mask will be 255.255.255.0. Okay, so from that we can imagine, if the host ID is more, then the IP address is more. If the host ID is less, the IP address is less. So class A, as host ID is more, it means 255.0.0.0. So the IP are much in the class A. Okay, and the class C has the lowest IP address because host ID is only 1 byte. It means 8 bit. So here, if you see the class A, So there are maximum, these all are the theories. I can share the document is in the descriptions. You can just go through that. And this means 1,67,77,214 host ID. It means that many IP address will be available in the class A. Okay, so just understand, class A can go from 0 to 126. It means from 0.0.0.0 to 126.255.255.255, and its subnet mask is 255.0.0.0. And here the host ID, network ID is 8-bit, and host ID is another 24 by 24 bit, because total 32-bit, right? So one 8-bit is equal to network ID, and another 24 bit is the host ID. Okay, or if you byte, 1 byte is equal to network ID, and another because it is a 4 byte, right? So another 3 byte is equal to the host ID. Okay? Don't get confused byte into bit, because 1 byte is equal to 8-bit. Okay, so now this is fine about the class A. Now class B. So 0 to 126 is covered. Next 127. So class B is from 128, because that 127 is the loopback IP address. So I will discuss that later. So now class B range is from 128.0.0.0 to 191. It means the last IP will be 191.255.255.255. Okay, so here the host ID is 16-bit, and the network ID is also 16-bit. Okay, so here, so little bit less IP address compared to the class A. Okay, and then is class C. So here ending with 191.255.255.255. So the next type will be 192. So it is from class C is from 192 to 223, like 223.255.255.255. So class C range. So here, if you see the class C address, here also it will be less IP address, because here only total 16-bit. Okay, so it is total 32-bit. So 24-bit is network ID, and only 8-bit equal to host ID. So IP addresses is very less. So this is about class A, class B, class C. So you can, like if I give you an IP address 10 series, so you can understand 10 means it is coming between 0 to 126. It means it is a class A IP address. If I say about, let's say 129, so 129 is coming between 128 to 220 128 series, right? More than one, so it's a class B IP address. So from range you can easily calculate. If I will say some IP address, if I will ask one questions like 128.255.255.256, so which IP address it belongs to? So you may see, you may say like 128, so it coming in it between class B, but this is not the correct answer. Why? Because I wrote 256. It means, and I already explained, right? Each byte, it will not go more than 255. It will go up to 255 only. It cannot go beyond that. So it is not a valid IP address. Okay, next. So now we understand which about class A, class B, and class C IP address. So I told something about, okay, so there is something called private IP address. Okay, so private IP address is nothing but in each class, like class A, class B, and class C. In each class, some IP address is already reserved for private IP address. So this IP can be used within a network, campus, or company, and that are private to it. So this IP address cannot be routed on the internet. So packets containing these private addresses are dropped by the router. It means like this, in each class, some IP address is already reserved from some private purpose. So wherever, so then you might ask questions, okay, where to use that IP address? So whenever you are working in any customer environment and you are creating a VPC in AWS, so VPC is nothing but the virtual private cloud. For that, we're creating the VPC, the CIDR range or IP range is mandatory. So on that cases, you need to use this IP address, these private IP addresses for them, right? So this is the private IP addresses. So in class A, it is reserved from 10.0.0.0 to 10.255.255.255. This range is reserved. Okay, you cannot use, let's say, 90.0.0, because this is also IP. If you create a VPC, that is going to work, but that is public IP, that is not reserved for private IP address. So for that reason, whenever you do demo or whenever do practical, you can pick any IP address. But whenever you are doing any setup for the customer environment, we need to use these private IP addresses. So in class A, the private IP addresses is 10.0.0.0 to 10.255.255.255. Next, like that in class B, it is from 172 series. So 172.16.0.0 to 172.31.0, sorry, .255.255. So for that reason, if you go to any AWS console and in any region, if you go to a VPC, so there will be a let's say I'm using one of the VPs, let's say any region, let's say Singapore region. Okay, any region you can choose. And if you go for the VPC, so there will be already VPC will be created by AWS. Okay, if you see the VPC, one VPC already created, and see the CIDR range 172.31. Okay, if you see the IP addressing, now I explained, right? 172.31 series, it means that is also a private IP address. So in each region, if you go, there will be a default VPC created by AWS, which is a private IP address, also class B series. Okay, so this is the class B1. Then in the class C, there is a series called 192.168.0.0 to 192.168.255.255. This is also a private IP range of class C. So these three are very important. So we need to remember while we creating a VPC, okay, for the customer. But for your demo purpose or anything, you can use any of the IP addresses. But these three is mandatory during the customer environment, and that is the best practice. Next one, when I explain the class A IP address, it is from 0 to 126. Next, when class B, it is coming from 128. Then what is the IP address between 127.0.0.0 to 127.255.255.255? So this is reserved for loopback IP address. So loopback IP address is nothing but any host self address or local host address. We call it as a loopback or local host. Okay, so for the local host, this IP is reserved. Okay, any of your operating system, whenever you are using on your own laptop, Windows or Mac, anything, if you do the local host, it will be pointing to any of the IP address from this. So many times you experience that, or you might experience 127.0.0.1 something. So you might be thinking, what is this IP address? So this is just nothing but a loopback IP address. You cannot use those IP address. Okay, so that is loopback IP. Next is something link local address. Okay, link local address, something range 169.254.0.0 to 169.254.255.255. So actually, there is something concept called DHCP. Okay, DHCP stands for Dynamic Host Configurations Protocol. So the working of DHCP is it will give the IP address as a dynamically, okay, randomly. You provided one range, one IP address range, and any of your server get the any IP apart out of that random, like let's say there are 255 IP addresses available. Okay, and you created one server. That server can pick any of the IP addresses. Okay, not like first come first serve or the first number then another. No, any random value it can pick. So that is the working principle of DHCP. So DHCP gives any of the IP address from that range. Let's say sometime your DHCP stopped working or DHCP server is not working properly. Okay, on that server we need to give the manual and IP range. So that time we need to give the IP address from this range 169.254.0.0 to 169.254.255.255. So that we call as a link local IP address. Okay, so there is something called loopback IP address. There is something called link local IP address. Okay, so I will just summarize what we discussed. We understand about what is IP address, okay, and how many classes of IP address. Okay, if anyone is giving you, so IP address is a IPv4 and IPv6. So IPv4 is a 32-bit and IPv6 is a 64-bit. So when you 32-bit is nothing but 8 byte, because 1 byte is equal to 8 bit, and each byte can go till the value from 0 to maximum 255. And I just also explained how the 120, that is a number you can represent as a binary number, how you will calculate as a 8421 code, that I explained. Okay, next we discuss about how many classes of IP address, like six. There are 5 classes of IP address: class A, class B, class C, class D, and class E. Okay, and class D and class E are reserved for multicast purpose or experimental purpose. And class A, class B, class C, we explained, like there is something called a network bit and host bit. Okay, and each class there is some range. Okay, apart from that, we already discussed what are the private IP addresses are present in the in each class A, class B, and class C, and where that can be used. And next we explain about what is loopback IP address and what is link local IP address. Next we will just go through one example, like we just how do we calculate it. Let's say someone is giving you an IP 192.168.120.0/24. Okay, so what is that? So as we know, //24, whenever you add, that is called subnet mask. Okay, so then if you represent /24, then how will calculate it? So directly go to the formula. If formula is, let's say, just consider /24, whatever the value after slash, let's that is x. Okay, so now here x equal to 24. So the formula is 2 to the power 32 minus x. So now 2 to the power 32 minus x is equal to 24. So 2 to the power 8. So 2 to the power 8 is equal to 256. So by representing on this single line, it means there are 256 IP address. So out of 256 IP address, always the first IP and the last IP reserved. We cannot use that. So the usable IP addresses are 254. So here is saying there is a standard notation called CIDR. CIDR we call as a it's classless interdomain range or something, the full form. And when you put /24 at the end, it means every IP address starts by the same 3 number. Like if you given /24, whatever the number is there, it is going to, because this is which address? Class C IP range. So 192 is not a class C. It means the first 3 are the network ID and last one is the host ID. It means the first 3 ID will remain same, only the changes can happen on the last bit. So the last bit is from, it will 0 to it will go maximum 255. Okay, so in the above question, this is means the access is allowed from every IP address from 0 to 255. Okay, so that is the calculations. Like this way you will calculate. If it's a /23, so it means 2 to the power 32 minus 23, it means 2 to the power 9. 2 to the power 9 equal to 512. So maximum 512 IP ranges will be there. Okay, so it will be very helpful while creating the VPC. So we will discuss more in next videos. Okay, before that time, you just practice how to do that, and what are the IP addressing, and you just randomly take some IP address and just calculate. Okay, and how to verify whatever your calculation is correct or not. There is many online tools are available. So one tool is called as a side. You can just type CIDR range calculator or CIDR calculator. You can type in the browser CIDR calculator. So there you can just hit anyone, then you can put your IP address. Let's say 192.168.2.0 something. And here what is the subnet mask? Let's say 24. So if you calculate, click on calculate. So it is saying there are total 256 IP address. Okay, what is the first IP and what is the last IP? Okay, so it will give you exactly and this is the hexadecimal representation, so we don't have to worry for that. But we just need to, so here if you instead of 24, if you make it as 23, it is a 512 IP address. So how the IP address will be calculated? So whatever you do the calculations by yourself, then validate it from the any of the online CIDR calculator tool. Okay, so just do practice. If you have any questions, let me know. I will help you on that. Okay, thank you for watching my videos. We'll meet in the next videos.